My childhood bedroom with dolls on the shelf and drawings on the wall that my brother did to me what even the devil wouldn't dare. And my father? Well, my father always thought the sun rose and set on that boy. Even today, at 73 years old, I can still hear that gruff voice saying, "Making things up again, girl?" Making things up. As if the belly that grew inside me at 14 was something I imagined. My name is Jessica Randall, but you can call me Miss Jessica. I was born in 1951 here in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, in a time when children had no voice, especially girls. Girls were supposed to stay quiet, obey, and be grateful. Today, sitting on the porch of my simple but honest little house on this hot July afternoon, I've decided to tell a story I've kept hidden for almost 6 decades. It's not a pretty story, mind you. It's the kind that makes your stomach turn, that makes you want to cover your ears, but it needs to be told. Because I know there are many girls out there going through the same hell I went through, thinking they're alone in the world. If you're listening to me now, tell me in the comments where you're from. I want to know if my story is reaching far, if there are people from all over America watching. And please, if you can, give the video a like and subscribe to the channel, because each like, each comment gives me strength to keep talking about what many people prefer to sweep under the rug. I remember like it was yesterday the first time I realized something was very wrong in my family. I must have been about 7, playing house in the yard, when I heard my father shouting at my mother in the kitchen. It wasn't anything new, he was always shouting. But this time was different. "Martha, stop coddling that girl. Let her learn that in this house I'm in charge, me and Tony." Tony, my older brother, 5 years older than me to be exact. Dark-haired, tall from an early age, with those green eyes that came from who knows where, because everyone else in our family had brown eyes. The neighbors were always saying he was too handsome, that he'd break many hearts. Little did they know that the first heart he'd destroy would be mine. My father, John Randall, was one of those men born in the wrong time. He thought women were meant to serve, that men don't cry, that one male child was worth 10 females. He worked at the nuclear plant. I don't know exactly doing what, but he always came home smelling of whiskey and cigarettes. When he was in a good mood, he ignored my existence. When he was in a bad mood, when he was in a bad mood, it was better to disappear. As for my mother, Martha Randall, a name that couldn't be more appropriate, she was a saint. Tiny, hair always tied in a tight bun, hands calloused from taking in other people's laundry. She tried, poor thing. Tried to protect me the best she could, but against my father there wasn't much she could do. "Stay quiet, my child," she'd whisper when Daddy started yelling. "It'll pass. It'll pass." The house where we lived was one of those 3-room places. A living room that served as everything, a bedroom for my parents, and a small room in the back that was mine and Tony's. In the beginning, when I was very small, we got along well. He taught me to climb trees, to fish in the creek that ran behind our house, to whistle. But as I grew older, things changed. It started slowly. A wandering hand here, a strange look there. I didn't really understand. I was a child, you know. I thought it was normal for a brother to want to hug his sister in that tight way, to want to sleep in the same bed even though he had his own next to mine. My mother sometimes came into the room in the middle of the night and saw him in my bed. "Tony, go to your own bed, boy." But he always had an excuse. He was afraid of thunder. He was cold. He missed when he was little. My father? My father thought it was wonderful. Look how much they love each other. Now that's a united family. And he'd pat Tony on the back with pride. He was the perfect son after all. He played baseball like him, drank like him, cursed like him. They were 2 peas in a pod. Father and son, thick as thieves, partners in everything. I, on the other hand, was the burden. The girl who was born when they wanted another boy. The walking disappointment. My father didn't hide it from anyone. "This one was a miscalculation," he'd tell his friends, pointing at me. "But what can you do? God wanted it that way." The first time I noticed something really weird was on an Easter Sunday. I was about 9, all dressed up in a yellow dress my mother had sewn. The whole family gathered, uncles, cousins, the house full. Everyone complimenting how pretty I looked, how I was growing into a young lady. Normal, right? Just family stuff. But Tony didn't like it. I saw it in his eyes. That sudden anger, that way of squeezing his soda cup until his knuckles turned white. When everyone went to the backyard for barbecue, he pulled me aside. "Think you're so pretty, huh? Trying to get attention?" I was confused. Attention from whom? I was just there, quiet in my corner, eating my piece of cake. But he continued, "You're mine, you hear? Mine. I don't want to see you giving anyone else the time of day." Mine? What did he mean, mine? Brothers don't own sisters. But that day, at that exact moment, something changed. The way he looked at me became different. Possessive. Dangerous. And I, even without really understanding what was happening, felt afraid. A cold fear that crept up my spine and made my stomach turn. I tried to talk to my mother. "Mom, Tony is being strange with me." She was washing dishes, hands full of suds, her always tired face. She stopped for a second, looked at me, and I saw it. I saw that she knew. I saw that she understood. But I also saw the fear in her eyes. The same fear I felt. "It's all in your head, honey. Your brother loves you. He just wants to protect you." And she went back to scrubbing the plates with too much force, as if she could also scrub away the truth that we both knew but couldn't speak of. That's when I understood something terrible. I was alone. My father on his side, my mother too afraid to do anything. And there I was, caught in the middle, a 9-year-old girl having to deal with a monster who slept in the room next door. Things got worse. He started coming into the bathroom when I was taking a shower. "Forgot my towel," he'd say. But he'd just stand there, watching. I'd shrink into the corner, try to cover myself with my hands. But he wouldn't leave. "What's the matter? I'm your brother. You don't have to be shy around me." I started bathing with my clothes on. Seriously. I'd go into the bathroom dressed, lock the door, and only take off my clothes inside the shower stall. Even then, he found a way. He'd break down the door, say he needed to use the bathroom urgently. My mother would complain about the broken latch. My father would say it was my carelessness. Nights were worse, much worse. He'd wait until everyone was asleep and come to my room. At first, he'd just sit on the edge of the bed, running his hand through my hair. "You're beautiful, you know that. The most beautiful in the family." I'd pretend to sleep, squeeze my eyes shut, pray for him to go away. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't. When I turned 11, things completely spiraled out of control. It was on my birthday, actually. My mother had made a simple cake, cornbread with strawberry jam. Just the 4 of us sang happy birthday, no friends, no party. My father gave me an old doll he found somewhere. "You're getting too old for this nonsense," he said. "But here you go." Tony gave me a necklace. A cheap plastic necklace, the kind they sell at dollar stores, but he made a big ceremony of it. For my beautiful little sister. And he hugged me in front of everyone. A hug that lasted too long, held too tight. I felt his hand sliding down my back, stopping where it shouldn't. I looked at my mother in desperation. She looked away. That night, he came to my room again. But this time it was different. This time he didn't just watch. "You're a young lady now," he whispered in my ear. "Time to learn some things." I was shaking so hard the bed moved. I tried to scream, but he covered my mouth. "Be quiet. If you scream, I'll tell Dad you've been fooling around with Mike from the grocery store. You know what he'll do to you." I knew. Of course I knew. I'd seen him beat my mother for much less. Once, she smiled at the gas delivery man and got beaten for a week. Imagine what he'd do to me if he thought I was offering myself to the neighborhood boys, as he used to say. So I stayed quiet. I bit the pillow and stayed quiet while my brother did things that even today I have trouble putting into words. It hurt. It hurt so much I thought I would die. But the physical pain was nothing compared to the pain in my soul. To know that this was happening and nobody would help me. The next day, I could barely walk. My mother noticed, of course. "What's wrong, Jessica? Why are you limping?" I made up that I had fallen. She didn't ask anything else, but when Tony wasn't looking, she put some antiseptic on my wounds. Her hands trembled, silent tears streaming down her face, but she didn't say anything. She never did. From that night on, it became routine. 2, 3 times a week, sometimes more. He'd wait until everyone was asleep and come. I learned to detach myself. It's amazing how the mind can escape the body when it needs to. I'd imagine I was flying, that I was a free bird in the sky, that I was anywhere but there, in that bed, with that weight on top of me. My father continued to think Tony was the greatest. The two would go out to the bar together, come back drunk, singing. "This is my son," he'd shout for the whole neighborhood to hear. "A real man, not like that boring girl Jessica." I was visibly withering. I stopped eating properly, stopped talking. At school, the teachers would ask if everything was okay at home. I'd nod yes. What was I going to say? Who would believe me? Tony was everyone's favorite, handsome, polite, helpful. He helped old ladies with their groceries, played ball with the neighborhood kids. The perfect son. No one imagined the monster he was when the doors closed. There was a day I almost told everything. It was to Mrs. Johnson, the neighbor. She was different from the others. No husband, lived alone, worked outside the home. The other women talked about her behind her back, said she was a lesbian, that she wasn't respectable. But she was always kind to me. "Jessica, honey, you're not well," she said one day, finding me crying behind the church. "What's happening?" I opened my mouth to speak. The words were there, on the tip of my tongue. My brother. He does things. But then I remembered my father, what he was capable of doing, not just to me, but to my mother, to anyone who got involved. And I shut up. "It's nothing, Mrs. Johnson. I'm just sad because I fought with a friend." She didn't believe me. I could see it in her eyes. But she didn't push. Years later, when everything had already happened, she sought me out. "I knew, Jessica. I knew, and I did nothing. Forgive me." I forgave her, of course. What could she have done? In those days, nobody talked about these things. It was a family secret, a forbidden subject, a shame carried in silence. When I turned 13, my body started to change. Breasts growing, hips widening, the period that came and scared me because no one had ever explained anything to me. My mother gave me some old rags and said, "Now you're a young lady. Be careful." Careful of what? I was already taking every precaution in the world, and it didn't help at all. Tony got even worse with the changes in my body. It was as if I had become an even more valuable trophy. The nightly visits increased. Sometimes he wouldn't even wait for everyone to sleep. He'd corner me in the bathroom, in the pantry, in any dark corner of the house. "You're getting hot," he'd say. "Soon the boys will start sniffing around. But you're mine, remember? Mine." I was an object, a thing, his private property, stamped and registered. And the worst part is that everyone seemed to agree with this. My father was always saying, "Tony's the one who'll choose who you marry. He knows the boys in town, knows who's decent. Marry." Little did he know that the only man who had touched me was his own son. The last straw came on a December afternoon. It was hellishly hot, the kind that leaves everyone irritable. My father had gone to work, my mother had gone to wash clothes at the river. I was alone at home, not alone. With him. "Come here, Jessica. Let's take advantage of being alone." I tried to run, but he was faster. He grabbed me by the hair, dragged me to the room. This time I fought. For the first time in all those years, I fought. I scratched, bit, kicked. But he was stronger. He always was stronger. "Think you're tough now, huh? I'll have to teach you a lesson." The lesson hurt more than all the other times combined. When it was over, I was bleeding. A lot. He looked at the blood on the sheet and shrugged. "Clean that up before Mom gets home." But I didn't clean it. I couldn't even get up. I lay there, in that red puddle, wishing to die, wanting to disappear, evaporate, cease to exist. That's how my mother found me. Her scream still echoes in my ears. A scream of horror, of pain, of guilt. She knew. Of course she knew. She always knew. My God, my child, my God. She hugged me, rocked me like when I was a baby. "Forgive your mother. Forgive me." That day, something in her broke. Or maybe it got fixed. I don't know. I just know that she picked me up, took me to the bathroom, washed me carefully. Then she made a bundle with our clothes. "We're leaving," she said. "Where to, Mom?" "I don't know, but we have to get out of here." But we didn't leave. When we were at the door, bags in hand, my father arrived. Drunk, as always. He saw the scene, understood immediately. "What nonsense is this?" My mother tried to explain. She stuttered, cried, begged, showed the blood, the bruises. My father listened to everything in silence. Then he looked at Tony, who had appeared behind him.